Hello, everyone. My name is Ruthann, and this is the Delaware County Hazard Mitigation Plan, Public Meeting 1. So we're just going to start with a bit of introductions. This is brought together by a partnership between the Ohio State University Masters of City Regional Planning Resilience Studio with state representatives and also the Delaware County Emergency Management Agency staff. And now a little bit about why we are here today. So we are here to update the 2019 Delaware Hazard Mitigation Plan, learn about the plan, learn about hazard mitigation, learn more about the progress of where the students are at and what is next, to gather public input and to learn about next steps. So first, an overview. So what is hazard mitigation? Hazard mitigation is a sustained action to reduce or eliminate the long-term risk to human life and property from hazards. So as you can see with the pictures on your screen, these are some examples of hazards that have happened recently in Delaware County, Ohio. So for me, this is the top left. It's the flood looking one. So for that is the Delaware Run flood of 2020, which happened on Ohio Wesleyan's University campus. And in the bottom right, that is a picture of the level 3 snow emergency in 2022 that also happened here in Delaware County. So the goal of hazard mitigation is to decrease the risk of high damage, decrease the risk of loss of life, decrease all these negative externalities of disasters. So the goals are to reduce potential losses in future disasters, identify natural hazards and identify actions to reduce loss, establish a process to implement these actions. So just an overview of something that I touched on a bit in the last slide. These are some examples of hazards. So there could be flooding, a dam failure that's underwater. There could be some type of wind emergency, which could be hurricanes, tornadoes, straight line winds. There could be emergencies to deal with storms or extreme temperatures. That could be anything from a summer storm to a winter blizzard. Also droughts and wildfires, geology incidents, so that could be landslides, earthquakes, subsidence. Also the issue with invasive species and the dangers that they can cause. And then there are human-made hazards such as hazardous material spills, terrorism, cyber attacks, and pandemics. For those that work in hazard mitigation, this is a very classic cycle. It is called the disaster response cycle, what is on your screen right now. So I wanted to introduce this to you. So there are 4 steps in the disaster response cycle, and it kind of goes in a loop. So it starts with mitigation. This happens well before disaster. It includes planning to reduce or eliminate damages from future disasters, and it results in a hazard mitigation plan. Then there's preparedness. Preparedness is when the disaster is imminent, such as when you hear that a storm is coming in the next few days, like you know it's coming on the horizon. So that the action that is connected with that are possible evacuations, property protection like sandbags, anything like that. And it results in an emergency operations plan. The third step is the response to a disaster. Think Red Cross. These are actions that happen during the disaster when rubber meets the road. And then the fourth step is recovery. So this is after the disaster. This includes damage assessments, rebuilding, restoring operations, and culminates in a disaster recovery plan. I also wanted to share a little bit about hazard mitigation history. Like, how did we get to even have a hazard mitigation plan that a county needs to do? So, these efforts first started in 1988 with the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act. This allowed for there to be presidential disaster declarations, which would trigger federal assistance via the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And then in 2000, there was the Disaster Mitigation Act. This formed the legal basis for the Federal Emergency Management Agency's state, local, and tribal mitigation planning requirements. This allowed for jurisdictions to adopt a plan to receive funds from FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, in the event of a disaster. One of the great things about having a hazard mitigation plan is that it allows you access to funding in the case of a disaster. In order to access that funding, the plan must be adopted by local jurisdictions and updated every 5 years. And these plans must include public participation in a documented update process. So by watching this video, this is part of that public participation. Additionally, it includes understanding existing conditions and demographics, knowing the major disaster declarations since the previous plan, understanding risk assessments and vulnerability analyses for hazards, understanding mitigation actions and being creative with mitigation actions and understanding their status, and identifying plan maintenance and updates. Plan maintenance is what happens between the creation of hazard mitigation plans, what happens in those 5 years. So, as I mentioned, doing a hazard mitigation plan does offer you access to federal funding. And what this funding covers are things like property acquisition, demolition, relocation. The picture of the house on the truck is actually an example of relocation that happened in Ohio. It can also cover property reconstruction, structure elevation, floodproofing, retrofits, generators, safe rooms, soil stabilization, anything like that. So generators can be incredibly helpful in times of power outages, such as with severe storms. And the photo to the left, to the right, to the right of the words on the screen shows what a generator to a house would look like. I also wanted to share with you some overall benefits of hazard mitigation planning. So there are many, but we'll just go over a few today. The first is to minimize property damage, economic loss, injuries, and loss of human life. Also, enhance public awareness and education of natural and man-made hazards. To coordinate interjurisdictional preparedness measures, mitigation actions, and programs for efficient and effective implementation. Provide tools for decision makers to better prepare for disasters. Achieve state and federal regulatory compliance to be eligible for funding. And for municipalities, having access to funds for related buildings and infrastructure needs, such as addressing issues caused by hazards. For police and fire departments, having access to funds for safety-related equipment and resources. For schools, having access to funds for school safety-related equipment or resources. For businesses, reduce or eliminate site and operational impacts. And for the general public, reduce or eliminate monetary and emotional cost from lost lives and homes. So from these last two slides, I hope you agree with me that hazard mitigation planning can be incredibly powerful and it is important and affects many aspects of our lives, from schools to our homes to many things in between. So right now we're going to quickly go over the process and schedule, so what is to come. By watching this video, you are taking part in our second milestone, which is to hold the planning meeting 1. And these are some important dates that you should keep in mind. So the next planning meeting is going to be October 26th. There's going to be an open public review of the draft plan from November 7th to the 21st. And if all goes well, the plan should be adopted in December of 2022. Now it's time for details on public and stakeholder participation. So your role in a hazard mitigation plan is to provide local knowledge and data as needed, including history, demographics, spatial information. You are the expert of your life and what happens to you here in Delaware County. And we want to hear about that when it comes to hazard mitigation and hazards that happen from your natural surroundings. Another part of your role is to help identify potential hazards based on your previous experience and to prioritize them based on risk. You can also help us develop new mitigation actions, determine status of previous mitigation actions, and prioritize what should happen next. You can provide feedback on the draft plan, participate in planning meetings, and assist in plan adoption for representatives of the local jurisdictions. So what I will guide you through right now are the things that need to be done as of watching this video. So the first thing that needs to be done is to complete the sign-in sheet. As of watching this video, we encourage you to go onto this website that is on your screen and log in saying that having your name, jurisdiction, title, and also saying yes that you watched this video and participated. Well, watching the video is the participation. So thank you. The next thing is that I would like to encourage you to visit the project website. The link is also on your screen right now. And this website will have all the handouts that we give, the link to watch videos, and access to the draft plan. The, the third thing to do is to complete the surveys. Now, these surveys are incredibly important, and in the next few minutes, I will guide you through what these surveys are and how you can access them. So the first survey is about goals. We took the goals from the previous hazard mitigation plan and we put them in the survey to see if you would like to keep those goals or maybe change them. So if you follow the URL on your screen or scan the QR code, that will bring you to this survey. Also, there is the second survey about hazard priorities. This lists all the hazards that we are considering to write about in the hazard mitigation plan, but we need your input to understand what is the priority for you. Do you care a lot and worry about dam failures? Or is it a nuclear incident? Or is it a cyber attack? Like, what do you think is likely to happen and what makes you worry? So that's what we'd like to hear from you for this survey. Again, you can follow the URL on your screen or scan the QR code. And for the third survey, this is the longest of the three, but I say to you that it is worth it. So this is for the previous mitigation actions. This lists all the previous mitigation actions that were in the 2019 Hazard Mitigation Plan, and it asks you the status of those actions. Are they complete? Are they in progress? Were they never started? Answer to the best of your knowledge. And if you don't know the answer to a question, feel free to share the link to the survey to someone who does know that information so that we can access it. Again, just like the other two surveys, you can follow the link on your screen and also scan the QR code. Also, in the comment section of the surveys, please feel free to answer these discussion questions. So any general feedback that you'd like to share about hazards that you've experienced in the community, especially in the last year, what hazards have you experienced? Have there been a lot of storms? Has there, like, how did the 2022 level 3 snow emergency affect you? What are some things that you want to be improved when it comes to hazard mitigation and hazard reaction in Delaware County? So we'd love to hear your feedback to questions like that and also anything that you can think of when it comes to hazard mitigation in this county. Also, how has your jurisdiction integrated the 2019 Hazard Mitigation Plan? So from the mitigation actions that were in the 2019 plan, how did your jurisdiction incorporate them? Was there action on updating community resources? Or did you change your zoning? Anything like that would be well appreciated to know. I would also take this moment to encourage you to have the second meeting on your schedule. The second meeting is October 26th, and if you'd like to come in person, the location and time is on your screen right now. So for next steps, we encourage all jurisdictions and the general public to complete the 3 surveys. And for the project team here at The Ohio State University, we will be finalizing critical facilities lists, performing risk assessments and vulnerability analyses, developing draft mitigation actions, and preparing for the second meeting. And please remember, the second meeting will be October 26th, where we will discuss risk assessments, mitigation actions, and their priorities. Thank you so much for watching this video. This has been Ruth Ann Richards with The Ohio State University. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to seeing your surveys.